My 28-year-old female, husband, 29-year-old male, Jay, has a child from a previous relationship, 4-year-old female. I love that little girl a lot, and that's never been in question. When I bought a house, I specifically made sure she would have her own room for when she visited, something her own mother doesn't even provide her. Currently, his ex has full custody, and after a few early years of being rather contentious, they've reached a co-parenting equilibrium that I helped to develop by facilitating healthy conversation. We currently see his daughter 2 weekends every month, and he sends his ex money every Friday. I am currently 5 months pregnant. Everyone on my side that's important to me knows, but he has told neither his parents nor his ex. I'm not really thrilled about either of those things, not because of some need to have the whole world know, but because I think it's almost, rude to not tell them, because I feel like they almost deserve to know, and that not knowing will cause a lot of problems down the line. As far as his parents are concerned, I do understand why he's keeping them at arm's length. He's always been the black sheep of the family, and as far as his daughter's concerned, they're only now starting to come around to being grandparents, after basically ignoring her for the first few years of her life. My husband has 5 other siblings, and their reckless, very chaotic lives generally take priority over his. Also, his mother is a pretty severe alcoholic, and although she usually means well, she's not exactly a positive influence on a child, so I get that. My problem really is that he refuses to tell his ex. Normally, I wouldn't care, but there are 2 main reasons why I do. Firstly, she has a lot of her own trauma about her biological father abandoning her and her mother to start a new family with someone else. This new family is arguably treated better than she and her mother ever were. He basically ditched them and hasn't been in contact ever since, which would mess with anyone. I get why she's bitter about that. Secondly, in relation to my first point, I'm worried that if she perceives this as being a similar situation, then she will cut the cord, so to speak, and use that as an excuse to prevent their little girl from spending time with us. She has a proven history of withholding visitation for much pettier reasons. And since there's no court agreement, there's not much we can do in the moment. It's not that my husband treats me better, but we are in a long-term relationship. We're not having an oopsie baby like they did, and generally speaking, we are in a much better place financially than they were when she got pregnant. So the argument could theoretically be made that he treats me better, even though it's just a matter of time and circumstance. Before anyone jumps on me, I am fully aware that it's not my place to say anything. And I've only minimally voiced my concerns about this, to a point where he knows my opinion and reasoning. But I'm not constantly up his butt about it. I genuinely believe it's up to him to breach the topic. But at this point, it feels like he's just waiting for me to have the baby. And then eventually, everyone will find out about it. His other strategy seems to be letting the 4-year-old put it together and relay hints to her mom that way. She's already kind of there, but we've been redirecting her curiosity as best we can, which I find cowardly and a cop-out. Since that's really a convo, he should be having face-to-face with his ex in person. Plus, a 4-year-old should not be the source of this kind of information. I guess I'm just worried things are going to go nuclear, and we're going to be back at square one with his ex. And it'll be entirely his fault, and I'll have to deal with his frustration about it. He hates being told, "I told you so." And I don't make a habit of saying it, but it feels like a bad situation is inevitable, and I'm racking my brain for if there's anything I could do for preemptive damage control. So what do I do? Do I do nothing and just let things happen the way they may, knowing I'll have to deal with the fallout? Or do I say something, and if so, how? Edit. A lot of the same questions are coming up, so I will do my best to answer them. 1. We do not have a custody agreement for multiple reasons. Firstly, our current arrangement is a lot more flexible, which works better for his employment. We have considered switching jobs, but his ex does not want that, because then she would not get as much money. She also does not want to go to court because it will be expensive for her, and the courts will likely rule in our favor and grant us 50-50 custody, or even full custody if she's unable to contest it, which again means that she will get no financial help, or even have to pay us. So if things went to court, we would not be the ones making it difficult. At this point in time, the arrangement we have benefits her more financially than anything she would get in court. So she is more amicable to our demands and causes minimal drama. 2. She has a history of weaponizing the child. She has previously disappeared with the child without a single trace, unable to be contacted. And at the time, my husband was experiencing some pretty severe life complications, so he wasn't able to commit as much as he should have to finding them. She is petty, and she doesn't care, and she absolutely uses this fear to control my husband. 3. I am not involved by choice. At the time where they were figuring things out, I was the primary breadwinner, so she continuously made it my problem, even though I was clear that I didn't want to be involved in their relationship. I will admit she did take advantage of my soft spot for the girl, but I did threaten to take away her weekly payments that I was making at the time if she didn't let us see the child. That's really what got her to behave, which confirms to me that she really only cares about the money, despite what she tells everyone. 4. A lot of comments are saying things like, "Are you sure you want to have a kid with him? Great choice you made there. Be wary of having a child with someone like that. Guys, I'm already pregnant. I made my choice. This isn't even about that. He's my husband, and I chose him, and I can't and won't go back on that. No one is perfect. I'm far from it. I knew he had issues going in, but I love him, and when you love someone, you accept their flaws. That's all I'll say about that." 5. Stop telling me that my stepdaughter isn't my business. Her well-being is my business, because I'm not going to be that stepmom who doesn't gaff about her stepchild. I see way too much of that BS. Absolutely not. Miss me with that. I haven't overstepped anything or done anything I haven't been asked to do. In fact, the whole point of this is to make sure I don't do that. Sorry if that sounds aggressive, but telling me to ignore my stepdaughter and pretend this problem doesn't exist simply doesn't sit well with me. 6. To that one absolute psychopath who told me to make the simple choice of getting a baby unaliving at 5 months and cutting ties with this nonsense. Holy frick, get help. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. OP. I would be more worried about the fact that you don't have a court-documented child custody and support agreement, rather than her finding out you are pregnant. That's a seriously dangerous way to live, and she has all the control. So if things do hit the fan, she's pretty much got the leverage on her side. As for the note about him telling her, just let it go. If he decides to tell her, good for him. If not, and the 4-year-old is the message bearer, whoopee! He might not feel it's her right to know. Who knows? I wouldn't put myself out about it. Comment 2. Tell him, 1, it's his responsibility to tell his ex. 2, if he doesn't, he has to deal with the fallout. 3, if he vents to you about how much her reaction sucks after she's been blindsided, you will tell him, I told you so. Because actions have consequences, and it's high time he learns that. Unfortunately, since he's been dumb enough not to have a court order, you will probably lose access to his daughter until you can get one. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking with me through this. Things have escalated quickly over the past few days. Just when I thought we had a handle on things, the situation with my husband's ex took a turn for the worse. She found out about my pregnancy, not through us, but through a mutual acquaintance who let it slip. The fallout was immediate and intense. She called my husband, furious, accusing him of trying to replace her and their daughter with a new family. It was a mess. In the heat of the argument, she threatened to move away with their daughter, where we wouldn't be able to see her. My husband was beside himself with worry. He felt guilty for not telling his ex sooner and scared of losing contact with his daughter. I was angry too, but more so at the situation than at him. I knew this was exactly what I feared would happen. Amidst this chaos, my husband's mother called. She'd heard about the pregnancy as well and was surprisingly supportive. She offered to talk to the ex, to try and mediate. It was an unexpected move, considering her usual indifference, but with her history of alcoholism, we were hesitant to involve her. It felt like a gamble we couldn't afford to take. The next day, my husband's ex did something unexpected. She showed up at our house, unannounced, with their daughter in tow. She wanted to talk. It was clear she'd been crying, and her anger had shifted to something more resembling fear and vulnerability. She confessed that her reaction was more about her own insecurities and past trauma than about us. We sat down, the three of us, and had a long, difficult conversation. My husband explained that our baby wouldn't change how much he loves their daughter or his commitment to co-parenting. I reassured her that I wasn't trying to take her place and that her daughter would always be a big part of our family. It was a breakthrough, but it wasn't the end of our problems. The next day, my husband's job threw us another curveball. He was offered a promotion, one that would require us to move to a different state. It was an incredible opportunity, but it meant potentially disrupting the delicate balance we'd just achieved with his ex. We were torn. The job was a chance to provide a better life for both our children, but it could also mean losing the ground we'd gained with his ex, and possibly less time with his daughter. It felt like we were being forced to choose between our future and our present. After a sleepless night, my husband made a bold move. He went to his ex's house and laid everything out. The job, the move, our fears, and our hopes. He made it clear that he wanted to find a solution that worked for everyone, especially their daughter. To our surprise, his ex was understanding. She didn't want to be the reason we passed up such an opportunity. She suggested a new visitation schedule, one that would have their daughter with us for longer periods, but less frequently. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. We decided to take the job and make the move. It's going to be a big change, but we're doing it together as a family. And somehow, despite all the drama, we're ending this chapter on a positive note. Thanks for reading. Aita for leaving my partner after he defended his mom's toxic behavior and caused drama at my workplace. First of all, thank you all for your kind words and helping me clear my head and have a talk with him. Long story short, I left him. If you want to know how it went, here it goes. This morning, I told him I wanted to have a serious talk when we saw each other in person. He told me he preferred to talk today. After uni, he came to pick me up and we had said conversation. I basically told him what I planned about paying rent 50/50ths. It's not fair for me to pay rent, plus 50/50 of bills, but not him. It would not allow me to save money. I prefer to rent elsewhere so we could be together. Here he got defensive and told me how his parents would feel offended if he moved to rent somewhere else. They already gave him that house, and living in a place like his would be expensive somewhere else. I got defensive too and told him that first. It's not his house, but his parents', which is why we needed to ask for permission for me to move in. They just let him live there. And secondly, that I didn't give a FCK if they got offended. His mother has offended me many times, ignoring me when I tried to talk with her by phone, calling me fat, gold digger, being discriminatory. At this point, he got upset and told me how much I'm hurting him. All he wanted was to move in with me. He started saying that I was painting his mom in a bad light, that she is just old. Ma'am is not old. She is around 60 and ignorant, so she makes mean comments. But she doesn't hate me, and I should forgive her. Please, he knows her better than I do and knows she does not hate me. My comeback was reminding him how she has never ever apologized to me about what happened. How can I forgive someone that never apologized? And when I told him that, he told me that people make mistakes, and if my parents said something mean about him, he would forgive them as I should. I told him my parents, in the 2 years since meeting him, had not said anything mean, and I highly doubted they would. His reply was the comment that made me decide it was over. He reminded me how the day he met them, we went to a restaurant, and when the time to pay the bill came, they did not invite him. It was not at the same level as his mother's discriminatory comment, but he felt kind of upset they were taking profit of him. I replied to him that I do remember that day, and I was the one paying for everyone. I knew my parents would for tradition. I am not sure if this is tradition for the country or just my family. Expect the son-in-law to pay for the first meeting. The next ones are paid by each member of the family, and he would not feel comfortable. But I felt like his mother. He was just assuming we are here to take profit of them. He had never mentioned this before, and remembering something so stupid, it wasn't even a fancy restaurant, to say that he thought my family would take advantage of him. After treating him like part of the family, preparing meals he could handle. No fish, not too spicy when he was around. Calling him son. Inviting him to stay for days with us at our small yet honest home. I could not handle this. Felt betrayed and offended, not only for me, but for my family. So I told him we should end this and left him on the spot. He's been calling me and my family. But I didn't tell them what happened, though. I'm staying at my friend's house, as my now ex doesn't know where it's located. I need a few more hours to clear my head. I don't know what I should and shouldn't tell my parents. I don't want to make them feel bad. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. When I was in high school, my mom gave so much grief to one of my friends who was a different race. I had to fight for him because what she was saying was just not acceptable. And hello, he was such a nice guy. She didn't want to give him a chance, but he was such a funny guy that he won her over. She ended up really liking him. She actually changed her opinion. Mom was a baby boomer, so age has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's about wanting, or at least being willing, to change. Your ex's mom didn't want to change and was willing to make you miserable. Comment 2. Tell your family the truth. All you wanted from his parents was basic respect and to be treated as an individual, not a stereotype. The fact that your ex was trying to defend his mother's actions is disgusting, and he never stood up for you. If he truly loved you, he would have sat his parents down and given them severe boundaries. But in reality, he was too scared that they would cut him off. You deserve so much better. Forget him. He's a mama's boy who will forever be living off of his parents' pockets. Now, for the update. First of all, thank you all for your kind words and helping me clear my head and have a talk with him. So, it's been a month since I left him, and you wouldn't believe the roller coaster it's been. I thought I had seen the last of drama, but boy, was I wrong. After I moved out, things got quiet for a bit. I was staying with my friend, trying to save up some money and looking for a new place. But then, out of nowhere, my ex's sister shows up at my work. She's all tears and apologies, saying how her brother's a mess without me, and how their mom is really sorry for everything. She even brought a handwritten apology from her. I didn't know what to make of it. Part of me felt vindicated, like finally they see how they've been treating me. But another part was just tired of all the back and forth. I told her I'd think about it, but deep down, I knew I was done. I couldn't go back to that toxic environment. But then, the next thing I know, my ex is at my work too, causing a scene, begging me to come back. It was embarrassing and my boss wasn't happy. I had to take a day off to calm down and figure things out. In the midst of all this, my parents got involved. They were worried about me. And when they found out what had happened, they were furious. My dad, who's always been the calm one, wanted to confront my ex and his family. I had to beg him not to, telling him it would only make things worse. It was a mess, and I felt like I was in the middle of a soap opera. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my ex's mom shows up at my friend's place. She must have followed me from work or something. She's crying, saying she's lost her son and now she's losing me, and she doesn't want her family to fall apart. I felt bad for her, but I also remembered all the hurtful things she said. I told her I needed space and that we couldn't go back to how things were. It's been a few days since then, and I've been trying to keep my head down. I found a small apartment, and I'm moving in next week. It's not much, but it's a fresh start. My ex still tries to contact me, but I've been ignoring his calls. I know my family and friends are hoping I'll just cut him off completely, but it's hard. We had good times too, and it's tough to let go of the past. But for now, I'm focusing on myself. I'm working extra shifts, and I've started a little savings fund. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm trying to stay positive. I've learned a lot about myself and what I deserve, and I'm not going to settle for less. Again, thank you all for sticking with me through this. It's been a tense ride, but I'm getting through it one day at a time. Aita for accepting an engagement to move west, then ditching my fiancé. After reconnecting with an ex. Howdy, folks. Hash background. About a year ago, I, 29-year-old male, moved from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic for a new job. At the time, my girlfriend, 26-year-old female, and I had been dating for 3 months, but were long distance for reference. We've been together for a little over 1 year now. She had lived in Georgia that whole time. A few months after moving to the Mid-Atlantic, she asked to move in with me. She quit a job that she loved, we packed up her life, and we moved her up with me in the Mid-Atlantic. This was back in October of 2023. Since I've taken this job, so about 1 year ago, I've been pretty unhappy with where my career's heading. I'm a high-performing, career-focused professional, and I feel like taking this last job was a step in the wrong direction. Being sad and unfulfilled on a daily basis from work has been extremely taxing on my mental health. And I also have to admit that living alone before my girlfriend moved in with me was so much nicer. I've lived alone for years, and I know that's where I'm most comfortable. I figured that I just needed to mature and I want to someday have a family. But what I'm thinking now, after living together for nearly 6 months, is that maybe that's not what I want. Maybe what I want is to have a fulfilling life where I don't have to sacrifice my time, energy, or money for others. I recognize this is a greedy take, but I'm really used to being single, and I seem to unequivocally prefer that lifestyle. It seems like the grass is always greener on the other side. Hash. While I'm asking for advice now, I bring all this up because I've been so dissatisfied at my job recently that I've begun looking at other jobs. I'm in a pretty niche technical field of engineering, so there aren't too many options locally to choose from. I've always looked at places around the country. I've tried getting put on different assignments at my current company, but their timelines are like, well, if you do well on this, then maybe in 5 years, you'll have an opportunity to work on one of our cooler contracts. And that honestly doesn't fly with me. Well, I'm currently interviewing for a position on the West Coast that sounds like the perfect position. The dream job for someone in my field. The total compensation for the role that the recruiter quoted me was $260,000 per year. For reference, I make approximately $125,000 per year. I've now gotten myself into a predicament. If I get the job, there's little to no chance that turning it down would be an option that I'd consider. It's my dream job for stellar pay in an amazing part of the country. I'm used to picking up and moving my life for work, but I feel like this could really be the last time I move. My partner, on the other hand, really dislikes moving. Moving up from Georgia was an extremely challenging decision for her, and I think right now she's happy, but she's happy because we're together. Ultimately, it seems like she would be 10 times happier if we were both living together in Georgia. If I ended up taking the job, I see no reason why she would stay on the East Coast by herself. I asked if she would ever consider working on the West Coast, but she seems to be vehemently against the idea. If I were to take this job and uproot my life again, I'm doubtful that she would be willing to come with me. I'm not even sure if that would be the best decision for either of us. I'm really trying to figure out what I should do about this situation. I'm worried that this is something that will come out of left field if I tell her that I want to take this job if I were to get an offer. We love each other dearly, and I really don't want to break her heart. At the same time, I've been quietly suffering through my everyday existence from career dissatisfaction just to come home and have to share space with someone. I think she wouldn't see the reasons for my actions, aside from just superficially chasing the highest paid salary. I think what she would see is that I've unnecessarily wreaked havoc on our life together just to make money, and that the obvious choice would be just decline the job offer, or possibly use it to renegotiate my salary at my current employer. She sacrificed a lot to move her whole life to be with me, and now I'm going and doing it again. I think things could work out if we lived in the same city but not the same space, or if we didn't move in together so quickly. I guess I'm just feeling really stuck because I love her a lot, and it seems extremely selfish to destroy a relationship over a job. But my current situation feels unbearable in the long-term, subpar job and not much personal space. Hash questions. How should I navigate this situation? Who should make the decision, as in, say I'm going to move for this job, then ask if she wants to come with me, or just not give her that option, so that she doesn't get burdened? How should I balance the idea that I'm just being a selfish jerk that should really focus on being more compassionate for others, with the idea that this could be extremely beneficial for me, career, mental health, financial health? Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. If anyone has some advice, I would really appreciate the guidance. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. What's your cost of living comparison? 2. How much of that total compensation is in writing? Are you comparing $260,000 total compensation to a $125,000 salary? Make sure you know what you're getting into. I've had recruiters quote total compensation packages in which the value of benefits or bonuses were included to inflate the expectation. Pair that with a high cost of living area and no girlfriend. Money is great. Love is better. Comment 2. You need to break it off with the girlfriend as soon as possible, regardless of the job. It seems like you are not ready to live with someone. And please, for the love of God, do not get married or have kids. Having a family is something that requires almost complete dedication to other people, which it doesn't sound like you are built for. Now for the update. Howdy, folks. So, a lot has happened since the last post. Remember that job on the West Coast I was talking about? Well, I got it. The offer was everything I wanted and more. But here's where things got messy. I told my girlfriend about the job, and as expected, she was devastated. She couldn't believe I was considering moving again after she had uprooted her life for me. We had a huge fight, and she stormed out, saying she needed time to think. A few days later, she came back with a proposal. She had been doing some thinking and decided she would move with me, but on one condition: we had to get engaged. It was a shock, to say the least. I wasn't ready for marriage, but the thought of losing her was unbearable. So I agreed. We announced our engagement, and things seemed to be looking up. But then, my ex from the Midwest reached out. She heard about my new job and wanted to congratulate me. One thing led to another, and we started talking more frequently. I knew it was wrong, but it felt good to connect with someone who knew the old me before all this drama. Meanwhile, my current job caught wind of my new offer and made a counteroffer. They promised a promotion and a significant raise, though not quite matching the West Coast offer. It was tempting, but it wasn't just about the money anymore. I was feeling trapped, torn between my career aspirations and my personal life. I decided to take a week off to clear my head. I went on a solo trip, leaving my fiancée to handle the moving preparations. When I returned, I found out she had been busy. She had sold her car, found a new job on the West Coast, and was all in on our future together. Her commitment made me feel even guiltier about my doubts and the secret conversations with my ex. The day before we were supposed to move, I made a decision. I called off the engagement and told my girlfriend everything about my ex, my doubts, and my unhappiness. She was heartbroken, and I felt like the worst person alive. She packed her bags and left that night. I moved to the West Coast alone and started my dream job, but it didn't feel like a victory. My apartment was empty, and the guilt was eating me alive. I tried to reach out to my ex-girlfriend, but she had blocked me on everything. I had lost her for good. A month into the job, I received a letter from my ex-fiancée's lawyer. She was suing me for emotional distress and the financial losses she incurred because of the move. The case went to court, and the judge ruled in her favor. I had to pay a hefty sum, which wiped out most of my savings. Now, I'm here on the West Coast with my dream job, but at what cost? I lost someone I cared about, and my actions caught up with me. I'm trying to rebuild my life, but the loneliness is overwhelming. I guess I learned the hard way that actions have consequences, and sometimes they hit you when you least expect it. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.